So I talked to the Wheeze, and the Wheeze and I live basically in the same neighborhood, and we take the same path in here to do the podcast. And the Wheeze called me 5 minutes after he left, and he said, there's a cop sitting on Forest Lawn Drive. There's a long stretch of drive called Forest Lawn Drive, runs in front of the cemetery. And it's where my Uncle Gobby's buried, and it's where my mother-in-law's buried, and I don't know, Michael Jackson maybe entombed up there. A lot of celebrities and stuff up there. Anyway, when Donnie called, he said there's this black cop that hangs out on a motorcycle tucked into the Jewish cemetery, which I'm sure the Jews must love the Schwartz on the bike parked in there with the radar gun. But he gave me a heads up to say, do not speed along this stretch of highway because the guy's waiting there. So I was, of course, driving, 3 miles an hour under. It must look suspicious when I drive under the speed limit, but I, of course, was driving under the speed limit because Donnie gave me the heads up where the cop was hiding, and I didn't see the cop where he usually hides, tucked up in the Jewish cemetery driveway. And I was like, hey, man, maybe the guy cleared out. And then as soon as I said that, I drove about another 80 feet, and he was hauling ass the other way with his lights on. He'd busted someone who was going the other direction. And it was very ironic. Donnie, I think you're going to want in on this particular conversation. As I was turning the corner on Forest Lawn, I was passing all the illegals who sell flowers. Now, what happens is illegal, basically, if you go to Tijuana, what do you have? You have a bunch of people, bunch of street urchins on the street. They're selling gum, they're selling hot dogs, they're selling mini tacos, they're selling marionettes, they're selling, E.T. made out of plaster of Paris with a Prussian helmet on that you can paint yourself when you get back to your dorm room. I mean, they just sell shit on the street. If you take a look, let's look at all the great nations. The more shit that's sold on the street, the worse the nation, right? This kind of Turkish bazaar thing where they're selling like fish heads or they're selling tchotchkes. Think about all those shitty nations. Like when you watch 60 Minutes and they go to all those shitty nations, what do you have? You have a bunch of people on the street. There's no regulation. There's no health care. There's no anything. They just sell shit on the street. And then the really bad nations have the 7-year-olds selling shit on the street. If you go to Tijuana, there's a bunch of 5- and 6-year-old girls selling chiclets that just run around. So, of course, since L.A. is essentially turning into Tijuana and no one will say a fucking word about it, now we got a bunch of shit. Got a bunch of people selling shit on the streets. That's what we do. So we have, when you get off the side of the freeway, there's guys with oranges, there's guys with bags of peanuts. When you go downtown L.A., there's guys with shopping carts with propane rigged up to them selling hot dogs wrapped in bacon. And if you drive to the cemetery, there's a bunch of illegals hanging out selling flowers. Now, what's the problem with this? Do we have a problem with this? I'll tell you what the problem is. I'm not uptight. I'll eat a fucking... I used to go to Tijuana and eat shit off the street all the time. We used to go to Tijuana all the fucking time and just eat tacos. I never had a problem with it. The problem is they make a mess. They leave trash behind. They drink Gatorade. They eat food. Mess. Hold on. Let me put my headphones on. The flowers come in boxes. They come in wrappers. And when you drive along the side of that stretch of Forest Lawn, there's big piles of garbage, fast food garbage, wrappers, boxes, whatnot, right?
The flower boxes, pizza boxes,
right?
Soda cups, cans.
Well, because here's the deal. Here's what we're up against. We have an open border, essentially. People come into this country, and once they come into this country, they have to make a living.
But let's also make it clear, too. Like, I have no problem with people coming over from Mexico, but they need to be like, they need the job card or the license or whatever it is to come over here and work. They need to simulate to American culture.
Assimilate, but yes.
Assimilate,
but no, go ahead and simulate it. Fake American culture. I'd be fine with that. No. People come in and they have to make a living. They're uneducated. They're undocumented. They can't go in and apply for jobs at places. They have problems with the language. They don't have a Social Security card. They don't have anything. Yeah, so what do they resort to? They resort to what they did where they came from, which is make a living on the street. And the living on the street means no taxes, no regulation, and garbage everywhere. And not only garbage everywhere, but human garbage everywhere. Los Angeles is littered with just people on the street trying to sell shit. It looks like we're in Turkey at a bazaar. And it's not what you want in your metropolitan city. But who's the cop chasing? The cop's chasing Joe Taxpayer. He's going to get a nice ass raping on a Sunday by the side of the freeway.
As he's going to visit his relatives at the cemetery.
Guy's going up to pay his respects to his Nana up on fucking Forest Lawn. That guy who's insured, who's driving the Audi, who's making his payments, who has his job, that guy's going to get fucking raped by the side of the road. Now, who's this guy speeding past on the way to rape the taxpayer? All the illegals that are standing there and making a mess.
You also got to make it clear, too. It's like 15 or 20 of them scattered down that whole Forest Lawn stretch. And then there's trash that follows these. And they also cut up the fence.
To get under it.
Yes.
Now, here's the deal. Put a fucking garbage can there. At least admit you have a problem and put a fucking garbage can. But how about the fucking cops start busting the criminals?
What about write them up for litter?
Listen, there's nothing you can do in this fucking city that you don't have to get a fucking permit for first, except for if you're illegal, in which case we know you don't have any money. And if you don't have any money, then you're of no use to us because all we're going to do is bust you. You won't be able to pay the fine. We won't be able to fine you. The prisons are filled. The jails are filled.
You could still hassle these people a little just to clean up their mess and just leave it the way you found it.
No, you can't do it because if you do, then you're racist.
Yeah.
God forbid the fucking cops go after the fucking illegals in this fucking town. Nope, you can't do it. You're racist. And, of course, Via Retardo's not going to stand for that because those are his people. Those are his constituency. Can't take a stand against it. So what's the plan? What's the plan, everyone? Just have L.A. slip deeper and deeper and deeper into Tijuana? Is that the plan? Is anyone going to pipe up?